Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on DBMS. In this series, right now we are discussing about the relationships in DBMS. So far we have discussed about the degree of relationship and the cardinality ratio. Today we are going to discuss about the participation constraints. So now before understanding participation constraints, first understand that what is participation. So in our last discussion, we took the example of citizen and Aadhaar card number. We knew that one citizen can be associated with one Aadhaar card number. So actually that means that this citizen is in relationship with this Aadhaar card number. We could also say it like this citizen has a mapping with this Aadhaar card number, right? There can be some other citizen who is in relationship with the another Aadhaar card number, and we understood that since this was a one-to-one mapping, so one citizen could be in association with only one Aadhaar card number, right? Or we can say one citizen could be mapped to only one Aadhaar card number, or the one citizen could have relationship with only one Aadhaar card number, right? Now, when we say that this citizen has a relationship with this Aadhaar card number, that means that this citizen is participating in a relationship with this Aadhaar card number, right? So we can say that this is an entity set of citizens, this is an entity set of Aadhaar card numbers. So now this citizen from this entity set, or this entity from this entity set, is participating in a relationship with another entity in this entity set. So this was about the participation. Now, constraints means the rules, right? So basically the rules that we are applying over participation makes up the participation constraints. Let's understand what kind of rule, right? So constraints, actually the participation constraints are, sometimes we define that what is the maximum number of relations to which an entity can participate in, or what is the minimum number of relations to which an entity can participate in. For example, over here we know that this was a one-to-one mapping. So we know that one citizen could be in mapping with at most one Aadhaar card number over here. That means the maximum possible relationships over here, we know that this is one relationship and this is another relationship. And now if I'm looking at this for this instance of time, so these two make up the relationship instance for this database, right, where we are having citizens and Aadhaar card numbers stored. So now how many relationship instance does this citizen 1 can associate with, right? We need to know that. So we know this is a one-to-one mapping. So we know that one citizen can be participating and at most one relationship at one moment of time, right? So we know the maximum number of relationships instance to which a citizen can participate is 1. And we know, we already saw that the minimum number of relationship instances to which this citizen entity can participate is 0. So actually this is the rule that we have applied over here, that is the maximum number of relationship instance to which this citizen can associate with, and the minimum number of relationship instance to which one entity from this entity set can participate in, or one entity from this entity set can participate in, right? Now we had already seen that in many to many relationship, although we had teacher and student relationship, and we saw that in this case the teacher can participate many students and one student could be taught by multiple teachers. So over here, if we could see, then the maximum number of relationship instance to which this teacher could associate with was what? That is M. That is as many number of relationship instances many it wanted to participate in. Likewise for student as well, what was the maximum number of relationship instances to which it could participate? Again, we know the maximum number of relationship instances for student, as it was M is to N cardinality ratio was N, and the minimum number of relationships to which both this teacher and student could participate in was 0. So now again we understand that these are the rules that we impose over these entity sets that we had for 1:1 mapping or for 1:1 mapping. We know that we have maximum number of instances to which one entity within that can participate is 1, and minimum number of relationship instances to which one entity in 1:1 mapping could participate in was 0. And for many to many relationship, that maximum number was mn, or the minimum number was 0. Now, let's understand that over here. If we say that an employee and project are related to one another, there is a relationship between employee and the project, and that relationship is that employee works in the project, right? Now, if we say that one employee can work in maximum of 2 projects and minimum of 0 projects, and one project can have maximum of 20 employees and minimum of 2 employees, right? So this is the constraint that we are applying over here, that is in this entity set there could be maximum 2 employees participating in a project, but there can be the employees who are not at all being assigned with any project, right? So what do we say? What kind of a relationship is this? 1:1, 1:many. What kind of a relationship? It is a many to many relationship, right? But now with this many to many relationship, we do not understand that actually how many employees are going to participate and how many projects are going to participate. But then we impose these constraints or the rules over here, then with that we know that this is actually the number that should be there. So now let's have a look at the definition. It says participation constraints specifies the maximum and minimum number of relationship instance that each entity can or must participate in. So this much we have already understood. Now, what is maximum cardinality? This maximum constraint that we are applying over here, this is called as the maximum cardinality. So we can say that the maximum number of relationships to which an entity from an entity set can participate in is called as the maximum cardinality. However, this minimum cardinality, this minimum constraint that we are specifying over here, this represents the minimum cardinality. So, the minimum number of relationship instances to which an entity from an entity set can participate in is called as the minimum cardinality. Right? Now we need to understand about the total participation and the partial participation. So let's understand that over here. Now from this entity set, that is employee entity set, we have multiple entities, employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, and from project entity set again we have multiple entities. Now we know that one employee from this employee entity set can participate in maximum 2 relationships. That means the employee can work in maximum of 2 projects, whereas the project can be assigned to maximum 20 projects, right? So it can be assigned to maximum of 20 projects. But the important thing that we have to see over here is that employee's minimum cardinality is 0. That means if there is an employee, that is employee 4, and now suppose this employee is not being assigned with any project, so that is completely fine, because for this entity set the minimum cardinality is 0, right? So there will be one employee who can be the case that there is one employee who is not at all participating in any relationship or who is not assigned with any project, right? However, the minimum cardinality for project is 2. That means in this entity set of project, if there is a project, then each and every project within this entity set is going to be associated or is going to be in relationship, or we can say is going to participate in minimum of 2 relationships. That means each and every project must have at least 2 employees that are working in that project. So if I write any project over here, so it cannot be the case that no employee is assigned to this project, right? So we can say in a manner that from this entity set, all the projects that we are going to have or all the entities that we are going to have are going to participate in one or the other relationship or in minimum 2 relationships. That means there is not going to be any project or any fine project that is not at all participating in any project, any relationship. So we say that this entity set has total participation, because each and every entity within this entity set is participating in a relationship. However, in employee entity set, we know that there can be an employee who is not working on any project. That means he might be the case is not participating in any of the relationship. So for this, we can say that this entity set actually is having partial participation, because all the employees, all the entities are not participating in a relationship in this entity set. So this was about total participation and the partial participation. Total participation says that within one entity set, each and every entity is going to participate in the relationship, and partial participation states that there can be some entities who are not at all participating in any relationship instance, right? Now we need to understand that when we say that there can be an employee who is not at all participating in any relationship or who is not at all having any project. So if we try to find out over here that within a company, who is dependent on whom, whether employee is dependent on the project or project is dependent on the employee. If there is a project, that means it is definitely going to happen that some employee will be working on that project. However, if there is an employee, then it can be the case that that employee is not working at all on the project. So if there is a company, there is definitely going to have employees. However, in the beginning, if there is no project right now, that is fine. Slowly the projects can come in and the employees can start working on those projects. So now let's have a look at the second point. It says it participation constraint specifies whether existence of an entity depends on its being related to another entity, right? So over here we can understand that the existence of any project is depending on this whether an employee is there in the company or not. Is it ever going to happen that within one company the employee is not there or all the employees are working on some other project, still there is some project that is coming into the company, then who is going to work on that project, right? So projects can only come into the company if there is some employee who is free to work on that project, right? So the existence of project in the company depends on the existence of the employee within the company. Without any employee, the project cannot be completed or project cannot exist within the company. So this is all about the participation constraints, in which it was very important to understand these four terminologies. Now there is one more thing left, that how do we represent this maximum cardinality and minimum cardinality in the ER diagram. So we have to see over here, we already know that how do we represent many to many relationship. We know this is a many to many relationship, and how do we represent the many to many relationship? With this single edge that is over here, we know that this is a many to many relationship. But with this edge, we cannot know that what is the maximum cardinality and the minimum cardinality. So we can represent that with this. That is, the maximum cardinality for employee is 2 and the minimum cardinality is 0. And likewise for project, the maximum cardinality is 20 and the minimum cardinality is 2. Right now we need to understand that how this total participation and partial participation is actually represented in the ER diagram. So we know that employee can have partial participation in this, however project is going to have total participation, right? So for total participation we use double edge over here. However, for partial participation, we have a single edge, right? And whenever it is going to happen that an entity set is going to have total participation and one entity set is going to have partial participation, and those two entity sets are linked with a relationship type, then that relationship type or that relationship set is represented with the double diamond instead of the single diamond. However, if there was one entity set and another entity set related to one another and both can have partial participation, in that case we can represent that with a single diamond only. So this was about the participation constraints. Now in our next lecture we will understand about the strong entity set and the weak entity set. Thank you.